everybody, and welcome to today's SCHOTT Pharmaversity podcast. This time, we will have a look into the topic of SCHOTT TOPPAC infuse, precision that saves lives. It's about why specific challenges in a hospital environment requires a next generation drug container. And to get some deeper info here, I am happy to have as my guest today, Mr. Niklas Niederwieser. He is the Business Development Manager in the field of SCHOTT TOPPAC, the Polymer design platform. And with this, I would like to say hello and welcome, Niklas. I am very happy to have you here with me today to elaborate on this topic. And I want to jump directly into talking to you, and I would like to hand over to you directly, and maybe you can start with a short introduction of yourself. So the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you for this introduction, and also a very warm welcome to everybody from my side. So my name is Niklas Niederwieser, and I work at SCHOTT as Business Development Manager for Polymer Solutions. And from my background, I am a material scientist. And I deal with SCHOTT TOPPAC, and one of my fields where I'm working on is SCHOTT TOPPAC infuse. That is a solution for hospital drugs and for intravenous drugs that have very high and demanding applications. So I'm happy to be here and to talk about this topic with you today.
Perfect. That's great. Thanks for this introduction. And I would like to start with my first question then directly. And you mentioned the hospital surrounding and the IV drugs. Can you explain a little bit on what are the particular requirements that do exist in a hospital environment or surrounding? Because I can imagine it could be a little bit different to other locations or other surroundings that we have and requirements that exist somewhere else. And it would be great if you can explain a little bit on the particular requirements that we have here.
Yeah. So, hospital environments are very demanding environments. So, because compared to, let me say, other environments, there are many patients in the hospitals who are either very ill, so they have a severe illness, or urgent health problems. So they need urgent treatments, and because of this demanding environment, there are also high requirements on the drugs. So first of all, many drugs in hospital environments are IV drugs. There are studies who assume that more than 80% of the patients that are in hospitals are put to some form of IV therapy. And IV drugs are used in these environments because they act very fast. So they have a very fast onset, and also because the high bioavailability that these drugs have. So when we think about hospitals, many drugs are IV drugs that have very high requirements. And because of these high requirements, they are also a lot of prefillable containers are used, because in these hospitals, we said many patients are ill or have health problems, so there are no errors allowed. Because if there happen some errors with the drugs, for instance, like a wrong dosage or wrong drug, this can lead to very severe consequences with the patients. And therefore prefillable containers are used. And what comes on the top in hospital environments is that sometimes when we think about emergencies, it can be even a very stressful environment. So healthcare workers have to work and act very fast. There is stress because the patient needs really urgent treatment, and this is something that comes on the top. So you are not allowed to make errors, and in addition to that, it is very stressful. And this is another reason why then prefillable containers are an ideal solutions for these environments, because they help to reduce errors to a really minimum extent.
Okay, so when having a closer look about the topic of the prefillable containers, can you elaborate on why or what are the advantages in particular of these prefillable containers and how can they really support here? So what's the advantage? What's the improvement here that you have by using a prefillable container? And are there different containers that do exist that can be used in that hospital and IV surrounding?
Yeah, so there are different sequences. So basically there is a traditional sequence where there is a container that stores the drug, so that keeps the drug safe. And then in addition to this container, there is a syringe that is used. So basically there is the container where the drug is saved, stored. This can be a vial, a bottle, an ampoule, and so on. And then there is the disposable syringe that's then in the hospital the healthcare worker uses to basically to administer then the drug to the patient. So this involves a high amount of steps, and this is the first sequence. And in addition to that, there is the second sequence, which is the pre-filled sequence. And a very nice advantage is that it reduces the amount of steps that are needed, because there is not a container and a syringe, but basically the syringe is the container itself that keeps the drug stable. And this also saves a lot of time.
Okay, I see. So it's really an improvement that you have here with the prefillable container. Can you summarize and give us some bullet points on the advantages the prefilled syringe has?
Yes, so prefilled syringes have a few advantages in this field. So first of all, they are safer, they are faster, and they are easier to use. Yeah, so as we said, they are faster because they reduce the amount of steps that are necessary. And this is also very critical and important for many hospital surroundings. For instance, when it comes to emergencies, the drug can be administered much faster to the patient. There are studies who showed that healthcare workers who did an intubation during an emergencies were 3 times faster with prefilled syringes. And this increases then the chance of survival of the patients. But also costs, because, for example, there is less time of healthcare workers needed in a hospital. And in addition to this reduction of time, they are also safer. So they do not only save time, they are also much safer because, as we said, errors are very critical in hospital environments, and they reduce the they reduce the dosage errors. So there are much less errors involved that happens in hospitals and ICUs. And in addition to that, so furthermore, they not only reduce the errors, but they also decrease the risk of contaminations. And prefilled syringes especially decrease this risk of contamination significantly. So the most important advantages of prefilled syringes are they reduce time, they reduce errors and contaminations, and they are all easier to use than the traditional sequence. What we from SCHOTT did is we did a survey. So we asked more than 600 healthcare workers in seven different countries about their opinion about prefilled syringes and what features they value. And more than 80% or 84% of the healthcare workers said yes, they prefer prefilled syringes because of the advantages that we mentioned and because they are much easier to use.
Okay, perfect. Oh, thanks for this great summary. I think that made it very clear. Okay, that were like the advantages. But now can you tell me a little bit on the features that a PFS or a prefilled syringe need to have in that application surrounding? So are this, or do they like differ? And is there a particular requirement when it comes to the features a syringe need to have?
Yes. What is very important, so first of all, is the right material. So for a prefillable syringe, we need to choose the right material. For a prefillable syringe, there are more material options possible. The first option that might come to a company would be to make the prefillable syringe with the same material than a disposable syringe is made of, which is polypropylene plastic. This would make sense. It is used for disposable syringes. It can be produced to large sizes, but it has a significant problem, and for which it cannot be used as a prefillable syringe. So polypropylene is not the right material for prefillable syringes. First of all, it has no good barrier properties. So it's basically the material is not a good barrier for oxygen and for water vapor. So it may react with the drug. And it also has a high amount of extractables and leachables. The drug is not safe and cannot store it for a longer time. This is also what the FDA says. So the FDA says that disposable syringes and also polypropylene syringes are not allowed as a storage material for drugs. So therefore, polypropylene is not the right material. Another material option would be to think about glass, which is a very good material for pre-filled syringes in general, as it provides high barrier properties and very low amount of extractable and leachables. But for the hospital surroundings, there is an even better material than glass, which is COC. So cyclic olefin copolymer, and this is a high-tech polymer, and it is similar to glass, so it has very good barrier properties, so not like polypropylene. It also has low extractables and leachables, and compared to glass, therefore it's the better solution, you can also produce syringes up to a large format. So you can produce syringes up to 50 ml without a problem. And this is the reason why COC is the ideal material for prefilled syringes in the hospital environment and also for IV drugs.
Okay, so I understood the polymer is polymer solution here, and the COC is the ideal material, as you said. When I think about polymer, for me, a topic of breakage could be relevant. Is that also something that is important, especially in the IV field or the hospital surrounding?
Yes, so this is also a very good point. When we think back about the hospital environment and emergency situations, if we think about an emergency situation in a trauma center and everything needs to go fast, then of course also break resistance is a important feature of a prefillable syringe, and COC has a very high break resistance that is even higher than glass. So it is not breaking also in in stressful applications. As mentioned, also the dimensions are important. So in many in the hospital surroundings, many syringes are used that have a larger volume, so that have 50 ml, for example. And therefore COC is the material of choice for these applications.
Okay, thank you. And when you said larger volumes and that this is particularly used in hospital surroundings, why is that? So why do we have these large volume formats in hospitals?
Yeah, this is also a very interesting question. So in hospital environments, what often happens is that a medication has to be administered to a patient over a longer periods of time. So it is not only a short bolus injection, but it should also be administered over a longer period of time, and then with a high accuracy. If we talk about large volumes, this is also, in hospitals, of course, there are some applications where, let me say, large volumes or volumes mean 5 ml or 10 ml as a bolus injection, for example, in the operating room Or then when we think about ICUs, then often 50 milliliter containers, 20 milliliter containers for drugs that are then also administered, and this is an important point, an important feature for hospitals, so they are administered together and over a syringe pump.
Ah, okay. So you have these pump systems and then the syringe go into the pump system to apply or to administer the drug.
Yes, exactly. And also there, it is important to choose the right syringe, that works together with the pump, because syringe pumps are used in hospitals mostly because they allow a very high accuracy. And because of that, it's also important to choose the right pre-filled syringe, because otherwise, if there is the wrong syringe chosen, the accuracy cannot be guaranteed anymore. And there are a few features that are important for a syringe that plays together with syringe pumps. And this would be, for example, the break loose and gliding force. So a pre-filled syringe that is used together with a syringe pump needs to have a consistent break loose and gliding force. And very important, this should also not change over time. So the drug can be stored for a longer period of time. So this gliding forces shouldn't change over time. And in addition to that, of course, there should also be no stick and slip effects when it comes to the plunger movements. And the syringes should also have a high accuracy when it comes to geometrical tolerances.
Okay, and so the geometrical tolerances that you just mentioned, in how far and what parts of the syringe are the most critical ones here for that dimensional part? And are there also different systems? Is there only a few pumps available, and so you have like a norm or so, or are there different systems out there that the dimension have to fit to, so to say, maybe?
Yeah, this is also, so there is not really a norm for it. Yeah, talking about ISO norms and hospital equipment, I think this also brings me to talk about another hospital equipment where there are some issues with the ISO norm, and these are needleless connectors. They have somehow this problem because there are many manufacturers of these needleless connectors that are then attached to the syringes. So there are many different manufacturers, and many of them do not follow the ISO norm. So there is an ISO norm, but there are quite a few manufacturers who do not follow them. And therefore, there are a lot of different connector designs in the market, and this leads to some issues. This leads to leakage when the drug is administered, and also to breakage of the connector of the syringe. And we from SCHOTT, we did a survey, so where we asked the healthcare workers, and 80% of the healthcare workers said that they have constant issues with leakage and breakage.
Okay, so it's very interesting that you got in direct contact here and asked for the really existing problems here to be able to find solutions. And can you tell me what part of the syringe, or what did you change for the syringe, or what did you work on to improve that and to solve, I would say, the problem of having different connector situations and to avoid topics like breakage and leakage? I think you have worked out a solution here, and it would be great to get a little bit more information on this. So which part of the syringe is it that you improved, at least?
Yes, exactly. So when we saw that there is an issue, and many healthcare workers have an issue with leakage and breakage, what we did at SCHOTT is we basically optimized the Lure-Lock adapter of our SCHOTT standard syringe and created an optimized Lure-Lock adapter. So what we did is we changed the wall thickness of the Lure-Lock adapter. We made a fixed anchorage to make it stronger, and we also implemented 12 supporting ribs for a higher stability. So we basically created an optimized Lulok adapter that reduces exactly these problems, leakage and breakage. What we then is, we also did some tests with different connector designs, and yeah, we saw that the new optimized Lulok adapter of SCHOTT TOPPAC infuse reduces the leakage by 94% and the breakage by 86%. So these are quite significant values.
Yeah, that's right. Wow, that's a very nice result that you found out here. So yeah, thank you very much on telling me and showing us what's the yeah, I would say critical parts at the syringe and how you worked on that and how you improved that. Come to my next question. I've heard about the field of compounding as well, and it would be, yeah, I mean, I see there is a connection to the hospital surrounding, and it also has a lot of certain requirements that we might not find in any other areas that way. And can you tell me a little bit more about this topic of compounding? Because I think to me and also to some others, it might not be clear what exactly is meant by that, and in how far also here the COC solution of SCHOTT TOPPAC infuse could be a good solution.
Yeah, so for compounding, so the name compounding comes more or stems more from the US, where you have so-called compounding facilities, and yeah, what is often meant by this are the so-called 503B compounding pharmacies. These compounding centers were established to tackle issues like a drug shortage. So there are many hospital drugs that are on shortage because the need is so high and also changing over time. And then special compounding companies were established who were allowed to produce these drugs for the hospitals. As mentioned before, when we talk about compounding, we mostly mean the 503B compounding pharmacies. And these are special centers that yeah, basically were established with the Drug Quality and Security Act in the US 2013. And they were established in order to react to a fungal meningitis outbreak in the US in 2012, which killed 64 people. And they are allowed to produce bigger batches. So they have to follow stringent production. Yeah, so stringent production properties. So they have to follow GMP, but they are also allowed to produce larger batches that they then can send to a hospital, and this reduces manufacturing costs, and this are savings that then could also be yeah, passed to the customers. And since these companies are allowed to produce larger batches, they can also use high-speed filling. And this is another advantage that we haven't talked so far about the COC. This material also enables and allows high-speed filling. So there is a quite nice potential for these companies when they use COC as material for prefilled syringes, that they can produce with high-speed filling and then get economies of scale and yeah, increase their or optimize their manufacturing costs. So this word, 503B compounding, comes from the US, but quite interestingly, we see these trends also in other countries. So also in some European countries, we see that there is a increased trend of some special companies, of some special pharmacies who produce higher batches of drugs in yeah, a certain sterile and safe environment.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And coming back to SCHOTT TOPPAC infuse, in how far can now this solution support in that field? So what would you say are the main reasons to use the COC prefillable syringe in this context as well?
Yeah, first of all, because it is a prefillable syringe, so it is designed as a prefillable syringe with a COC barrel. So the material is the right material. It is this COC high-tech polymer that has very good barrier properties and keeps the drug stable and safe over a certain amount of time. It is, in addition to that, it has this improved Lure-Lock adapter that we have talked before that allows better IV connectivity, and it helps reducing problems of healthcare workers like leakage and breakage. So this is another nice feature that the syringe has. What it also has, it has requirements that are very important when it comes together for the usage of syringe pumps. So it is the ideal syringe for syringe pumps. It has very good geometrical properties and break loose and gliding forces that are very important, also stable over time. So at the end, I think it is a complete system with great functional performance for the hospital environment.
Yeah, perfect. That sounds, very great overall. And I think you're doing quite a lot here to improve the application and administration of the drugs for the people and the patients. Being in the hospital, I think it makes life easier for patients, but for sure also for the healthcare professionals. So I really like the solution you have just presented and answered on the advantages it has, but also the requirements and the maybe critical parts that are there in this context and surrounding. So thank you very much for that deep dive into the topic of hospital drugs and its requirements. When, you're, as I heard, working on quite a lot of things here, but how is the outlook into the future now? So I think I can imagine that you don't stop today to work on this topic. And do you have kind of plans or any further improvements that you have in mind? Any further steps into this direction that you're currently working on? Any particular topics that are relevant and maybe also that you see from the survey you did, where you think in the future this could also be relevant topics that you are going to work on or are already working on?
Yes, so what we're doing is we are constantly trying to optimize our products, and also here SCHOTT TOPPAC infuse. So we have a lot of topics in mind where we are currently working on. These are, for instance, solutions when it comes to counterfeiting, but also when it comes to tamper evidence. That is a proof of integrity of the primary packaging. Which is basically a clear visual indication of the first opening. So this is something that healthcare workers said this is also important for them. We are working on, also on solutions when it comes in combination with smart pumps, automatic detection, for example, over solutions with RFID chips. Yes, we are constantly improving the product and trying to find additional solutions that help our customers.
Very interesting, I have to say. So I would like, Niklas, to thank you again for your time and the answers you gave us today. And then with this, I would like to also thank you, our audience today. And I'm really looking forward to also hear you and hope to have you within one of our next podcasts as well. And with this, I would like to say goodbye. See you.